Hello, everyone. I'm Saleha, and this is Chai, Chat, and Community. And tonight, I'm joined by Dr. Vikrant Kishore, an academic, a photographer, a journalist, author, filmmaker, and an intangible cultural researcher. Is there anything you don't do, Vikrant?
No, that's it. That's it. But I keep trying.
So, I have kind of described you in one sentence. Do you want to describe yourself a little bit more?
Well, to tell a bit about myself, as you said, at the moment I'm an academic, a full-time academic. At the moment I'm working at Deakin University. I'm a senior lecturer in film, television, and animation. And currently I'm also the course director for the department. So that's quite a lot at the moment to do. But I also keep my flame of journalist not to die. So I keep on doing some of the other journalistic work. So my wife runs an online community channel called bollyos.com. So I try to keep doing some kind of talks with community people here in Melbourne, especially, but also with lots of Indian people, Indians from Bollywood and other cultural aspects. Other than that, always interested in making films. Filmmaking is something which I'm really passionate about. My area generally, I've been making documentaries, and for last couple of years, I've been also dabbling into micro docs or short documentaries or web series. So have made quite a few over the last few years, and yeah, that keeps me going. If I'm just I can't keep just sitting or just doing my research. I have to find some way to do my creative work. So, and best thing is that in media teaching, now creative practice is also considered as a research work, a research output. So now it gives me much more, kind of a platform, not only platform, but a kind of gives some kind of power to my passion that, oh, it can give me some research points as well. So then I do more documentaries and keep thinking of something or the other. And that has worked well. Uh, Apart from that, and you have, of course, I would like to talk more about that, is something which you mentioned. I'm very much interested in intangible cultural heritage of the world. Okay, so intangible cultural heritage is something which is is practiced, okay, which is given by one generation to another, which is not tangible. So there is tangible heritage, like Taj Mahal is a tangible heritage,
Yes.
big buildings, what you see, 1,000 years old, or those are tangible things that you can touch. Intangible heritage is like dance, it's like culture, it's something, it's our language. Okay, our language is also intangible cultural heritage, and we have been talking about so many languages which has disappeared over the years. So those are intangible. So how do we safeguard that? So my work area is more around the folk dance forms from the eastern part of India, and have been working very closely with Association National Cultures et Tradition. This is a very big organization based in France, and for last 20 years, I've been working with them and making short documentaries on various dance and music and folk forms from across the world. So I've made short documentaries on around 14 to 15 different cultural dance and music forms, be it from Mexico, from Cameroon, from Russia, Amazon, from Brazil. So I've had the chance to meet so many people and diverse things that I could really work on.
Wow, this is so interesting. This is so interesting. So, I'm going to talk about your dance, intangible cultural researcher. But tell us first about your life in India, and then I want to ask you more about your photography, your filmmaking. Those are so exciting.
Yeah, so life in India, of course. Being an Indian, I always miss India. Australia happened by accident. It was never planned. I never had Australia in my radar. It's something just happened. So of course, and my family comes from Ranchi, so that is my hometown. But my schooling and all everything, like initially from in Ranchi, but DPS Puram in Delhi, then St. Stephen's College,
Oh, my
and
husband's from St. Stephen's.
oh, okay. uh, Small world, and I keep bumping onto some of the other Stephanian here in Australia as well. So yeah, definitely I would like to catch up with him.
Yes,
Indians always
certainly.
interesting stories to share. So yeah, that's another pride, Stephanian. So
Yes, Stephanian. Yes, I know.
yeah, that will always remain. And of course, after Stevens, I moved on to mass communication to form to get into a career of media. Primarily, in fact, I was very much wanting to get into the a kind of a career in glamour industry, in the sense films and movies and all, but I didn't know, getting into mass communication, and something which I was never open to was about learning about people, about humans, and the kind of challenges that were being faced. And that's where, during my masters, my eyes were open to really interesting documentaries, stories of people, stories of the plight, stories of plunder of environment, or things like that. And suddenly I was veering towards, knowingly, unknowingly, I started feeling strongly about my own belonging, about my own identity, and thinking about stories that needs to be told. And moved out from that kind of thinking that, yeah, I have to go to Mumbai. So yeah, and then, well, of course, after my masters, my father, being a bureaucrat, an administrative officer, he wanted me to get into UPSC like him. And I was like, no, I don't want to get in, but he just made me to go and sit for these UPSC exams and all. But anyway, I just said that, no, that's not my cup of tea. After thinking so much, I can't just get into, just cramming up and just reading up on things. And then I started my career with, at that point of time, started teaching a bit at Women's Polytechnic, just to get some money and not to be dependent. But my career actually started as a journalist with Z News, which was a really good
Sorry,
channel.
seeing you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't regret. Today, I regret that I was part of that bloody shame. I just feel ashamed of what they are doing now. So it's terrible and tragic. And I see so many of my colleagues now who are now editors and like top bosses of Z or other channels. And I came from that particular time of, 2000, 2002, when I worked in Z. 2 years, and saw things happening. And that was the time when I decided, and I saw that I just don't want to be in news industry, because I felt, you know, I use this term, and which of course Noam Chomsky also used in as one of his documentary, manufacturing consent. Okay, so that manufacturing of news, it was still very little, but at that point of time, it rattled me. And I moved into academia. I started teaching, and I started teaching at LSR, Lady Shri Ram College,
Yeah.
initially as a guest lecturer, then at Rai Foundation, which later on became Rai University, and then finally I became the head academic in charge at IP College in Delhi University. And that was the time where I could teach and have my own production house. So I started doing lots of productions, making ads, corporate films, documentary films, and teaching as well. And somehow academia stuck with me. Yeah. So that's what, in brief, life in India was. Of course, I have to add, like I talked about my father and my grandfather, but in my life, my mother has had a very big influence. She was by heart, she was a poet. She was a published poet. She had 3 books published. She also won lots of awards for being a Hindi poet. But she was also a politician, an academic, and yeah, so lots of those kind of cultural things, be it music, and most importantly, passion for cinema. That comes from my mother. She was, absolutely into films, and we would sit together and watch all Bollywood Hindi films, from 1940s till 50s, 60s, and she had a great knowledge of Hindi songs and music. So that was one of the common bonding factor with my mother, that I would, and if she would get angry with me, and she would call me all the Hindi villain names, and it was sad. Ranjit Khan, Amrish Puri, she would call me everything possibly, and that just shows that how she was so passionate about films. And today, when I'm working on films and I'm writing on films, I've written 3 books, like one full book, authored book on Bollywood cinema and the impact on folk dance forms, and 3 co-edited books on Bollywood cinema. So cinema is another area that I've been writing and talking about. So yeah.
So tell us more about your cinema. What kind of films do you make?
Well, at the moment, as I said, I've been making lots of films on intangible cultural heritage. I've made 3 documentaries on Chow dance. So the first documentary was all about what is Chow dance.
And
Chow dance,
can you
just for
explain to our viewers
yeah,
what Chow
for
dance is? Yes.
viewers, what Chow dance is from eastern part of India, and it's a mass dance drama. But then there are about three or four different forms of Chow, and now basically in our definitions we say, there is Saraikela Chow, which is from Jharkhand area. Earlier it was part of Bihar. So Saraikela has got a semi-classical status, and because of its patronage by the royalty, and it's a bit lyrical in its movement and a bit poetic. Then there is Purulia style of Chow, which I'm really working on. Purulia style of Chow is more of a folk tribal kind of a dance form. I find it much more interesting, invigorating, and it is a very vigorous dance form. Lots of acrobatics, lots of movements, lots of improvisation, and amazing kind of work. And you see, it's really interesting. And then there is another from Mayur Bhanchha, which is from Orissa. Okay, and there is another fourth one, the Kharsawa Chow. So Mayur Bhanchha is the only one they don't use mask; they paint their face.
That is
Uh,
what my friend does. Yes, she does
yeah.
it in Singapore. And Raka, if you're watching, here you go. We're talking about you too.
All right. I've been working, and it was not my work. It was something passed on. My father was very passionate about protecting Chow. He was really actively working with all these Chow groups, and then he formed his own NGO. And then he was also part of the Festival of Indias, which was started in 1980s during the Indira Gandhi government. And he was also part of ICCR, Indian Council of Cultural
Yes.
Relations. So he took lots of these Chow dance groups to almost more than 15, 16 different countries, performing as part of leading them and all. And that's how it was actually my father who, in a way, put us or got me interested in Chow and made me, under the tutelage of Padam Shri Nepal Mehato and Lalit Mehato. These were the two really renowned artists. In fact, they both got standing ovation by Prince Charles and Princess Anne in 1982 when they performed for the Festival of India. And that prompted Indian government to take note of that Chow dance as a good dance form where the prince stood up for him. So that's how he ended up getting a Padam Shri, that big award. So and I was trained by them. So I always and then unfortunately Nepalda, he passed away last year only, and Lalitda is still there. So these are very like people, humble people, people from villages. I had to go to, I always, every year if I go to India, I visit the village, I visit my dance group, I have the connection, I still make films with them, I still, try and send them to international festivals. So those connections are still there, and that's what my connection with the culture part is there. And in 2016, I did a 5 day multimedia exhibition in the Parliament of Victoria. So this was the first of its kind of Indian kind of a multimedia exhibition to be held at the Parliament of Victoria, and the exhibition was titled "Dance of the Hindu Gods," and basically it was all on Chow dance. So the 5 aspects of Chow, right from the whole aspect of worshipping of the costumes and worshipping of their musical instruments, to worshipping of the arena and worshipping of the audience, and then
Wow.
the dance form. So it was all weaved in, and I had two very interested people who were collaborating with me. One was Nandita, uh, and she brought in her folk ritualistic art forms, and she made some folk colorful what do you call patterns, which is very much alive in the Bengali culture and associated with Chow and welcoming of people. And then we had Nandita, and Nandita, she is a what do you call uh, ceramic artist, and she created specialized, theme based ceramic arts on Ganesha and things to do with welcome. So three of us all collaborated together and showed our art form. So Anandita, me, and Nandita. So yeah, that's still a kind of a very interesting project, and we want to take it and develop it further and take it to some other places. Hopefully, maybe by 2022 we'll plan and do
Wow.
something.
Um, Still talking films, you've made a film that for the 2021 film festival
Well,
that you
I've made a film, and we would want it to enter it for film festivals. And this is a personal film, this which one we made, and it was like, in fact, there's a backstory to that, and the backstory is that because of the COVID, and when I was teaching films, it was all through Zoom, and I got my students because they were also all isolated, sitting in their house, so I got them to make their own personalized films, so, okay, kind of a reflective films about what they are going through during this pandemic. And during one of our class discussions, and one of the students asked me, "Why aren't you doing your own self-reflective documentary, on pandemic, and what is your experience?" And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. That I should also think about it. And I started thinking about it. And meanwhile, my wife was doing a whole lot of these short, interesting videos with my 6-year-old daughter, okay, who was talking about her take on COVID-19 and what she was going through, and it was different. And she was sharing it with the family members and all, and everybody was liking the way she was responding, or finding things. And then I started thinking, I said, no, my point of view is going to be more or less like my students, and it's going to be morose. But here there is a 6-year-old who has a dream fantasy world. She knows what COVID-19 is. She is trying to explain it in her own ways, but she is also having the fun and all the being with parents and enjoying her time with us. And it was a different kind of a time. And then we collected all the videos, and it was all shot on phones, so it was my wife who was doing. And then I also thought, instead of taking my all the film gear, let us do a phone camera, because I was getting my students to do it on their phone cameras.
yep.
And then we ended up creating this film, and now it's all complete. And next week onwards we start entering it for festivals. And whatever the preview I've had with friends and family, we have got some really encouraging response. And the best thing is that yeah, every time I see it, of course it's my daughter's film, I'll like
Yeah.
it anyway. But I still feel that it talks about a child and her particular thing. So probably
So her perspective.
yeah, her perspective. So, and I didn't see many of those happening. So I feel that there is a need, or that should be talked about, at least in some way. So let's see.
Photography, Vikrant.
Photography now, it's more of a kind of something which I just do personal, for my own personal thing. So nothing professional. I was doing a bit professional photography, but in between, yeah, photography is always a passion, and yeah, I enjoy doing that. Yeah, doing lots of photography for my friends, family here and there. But yeah, I taught photography for a long time, both photography and cinematography. I'm still teaching cinematography. So, and then cinematography takes on the basics of photography. So that's the thing. So teaching students, getting to know cameras, understanding exposure, ISOs, lighting, this, that. So it's part and parcel of my work and my passion. So it continues, and yeah, nothing best to take good pictures of your kid these days and your wife and all. So yeah, at one point of time I used to do lots of modeling, photography, and all those things. But yeah, that was a long time back. But now academia, filmmaking, and photography is somewhere at the
But it
background.
all kind of complements each other, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Filmmaking and photography together.
yeah. That's why, as a filmmaker, one of the best things, or rather best gift today, we talk about being multi-skilled, and that is the mantra. And that's how what has internet has done is or how across the world, even journalism, things have gone, that people need to be multi-skilled. And thankfully I can say that, oh, I direct my films, I edit my films, I do the camera of my films. So I've been a one-man army for long, since the time I started. So one of the good things of doing my Master of Mass Communication from Jamia was that it prepared us to take on any of these works. So we were trained on editing. In fact, when I learned editing, we learned editing both in on Steenbeck, doing film with with the scissors and cutting, actually cutting the films and then joining it. So cut and paste was actually cutting physically the film rolls and then joining it together. And then the spool ones, beta cams and all those things we learned. And by the time we went into the industry, it moved on to the non-linear editing. So we had to relearn the whole thing, which was, but good thing was the concept was the same. So
Yeah.
it was easy to take what it was. So I can still, now I'm so passionate about editing that every other day I'm editing some other other thing. I've got so many videos. I keep working on it. Sometimes I keep procrastinating about things, but still, if given a choice as an academic to write an article or to make a film, I would like to make a film. Writing takes a lot of time for me.
So one of my friends, her son is big time into movies, and he reviews movies, and he enjoys editing, and he's all of 14. So obviously we can't get him on the show because he's underage. What would you say to, upcoming editors, filmmakers? Because filmmaking is, amongst us South Asians, you only have three careers to choose from, no matter where you come from. You've got to be a doctor, engineer, or an accountant. I'm hoping things will change. My elder daughter is one of those changes who hasn't taken any of that. And then you have stereotypes, like if you are an Indian living here, you have to be in the IT. It is not always so. So, what would you say to filmmaking, multimedia as an alternate career choice or even a subject choice for universities? Because so many kids are going back to uni at the end of the month.
Well, as a creative, someone with creative bent of mind, definitely this is the field. Of course, film area and media, it makes parents very jittery because they don't see it kind of a very very firm kind of offering firm kind of job opportunities. So that is always a kind of question which comes across to me from the parents. Kids are always wanting to go because they always find it either
Yes.
glamorous or challenging or lots of creativity in that, and which is good. I always tell them that the whole job or the media landscape or even any job next 5-10 years is going to be very very challenging because things are changing at a drastic pace. The kind of things or the way artificial intelligence is coming, or within editing now, like you've got so many softwares that you just have to click on things and you can compile things. Okay. And now I always tell my students, okay, you will have some of the other gadgets there and it will become cheaper and it will become very good, but we are not going to teach you how to become a technician. Okay. We are teaching you how to become a storyteller, how to think about a story, and also how to connect with the story, how to connect with your talents, and how to find that story. That is the most important thing for people to do, is to, yeah, you can make a very good edited things, your software can do that, but the moment you want to apply your own mind and try to create different kind of stories and different kind of experiments, not only stories but experimental stories also, it is very challenging. And I have seen, in fact, one of my nephew who's just 15 years old, and he's been making some really interesting stories and very interested in camera and all. And I can see it comes from inside. He's passionate about it. And if you're passionate, you'll find your calling and you will do that. But never get bogged down that because you don't have access to that hi-fi camera or that hi-fi editing, even a simple camera, a simple phone camera or anything, any way you can express yourself, do that, utilize it. And at least today's generation, they are so blessed to have so many internet resources where you just type in and you get some of the other instructions on camera, what to do, this thing, that thing. YouTube, set up your own YouTube thing. And I've seen youngsters having millions of likes, or having really good content, or not even great content, but at least they start getting those followers. And today, as a filmmaker, it's not about just making films. Now people are looking, and I know that when my students are going for job interviews or places, people are looking at complete package as to, okay, you're making film, but if I want you to make a film and put it online, and if can you interact with the audience, can you get them to like your things? So it is becoming that you have to navigate the online media. And good thing is that students today, or budding filmmakers, they understand all these social media and all. So I think they need to look at that. And alternate careers, there are many. And because of internet, traditional filmmaking is somewhere collapsing. COVID collapsed that quite a lot. It will come back again. But you see now content making for Netflix, Stan, Amazon, it's taking place. Web series is
Yes.
so big in India. Web series has become so big. Microdocs has become so big. So you have to think, and they are also making money. Okay. But not all are making money. So you have to, chart out a kind of a plan and also think about what actually interests you, because you have to find a kind of a beat or a area. Like I found my area as dance and music and intangible culture, or to things to do with basic humanity and those kind of things that makes me really really passionate. So for me, the driving force was never money. It was always about passion. If I have to make film, I'll make a film not for money but for my passion. And when it came for money, I worked with, I always took up here and there work. I worked with ABC, and I worked as the, international producer for a series called Family Footsteps, which was very interesting. I got to learn quite a lot. And then there was an international series called World's Strictest Parents that was on Channel 7. And I was the international producer again for World's Strictest Parents as well for a couple of episodes. And it really worked well. But I never invested myself into that area because I was just leaning towards more academia and my own filmmaking rather than waiting for another good commercial project to come through me.
Okay. Um, well, the friend who I asked about, hello, Noreen, that's her. So,
I know, right?
internet, we talking constantly of online things that's happening now. Internet is amazing, and yet there are so many traps. And 9th February is Internet Safety Days. We keep talking about children shouldn't be given enough access. You have parental locks. Um, there are good and the bad. We all know the good. Tell us about the bad. We're talking about young adults, children, adults, and including people like me. We talk about cyberbullying, fake news, phishing, and the other issues. So what do you make of it?
Well, it is high time that we start talking about it. It is impacting us. It is impacting our mental wellness. Internet is something which we are glued. If we are working, I'm working on my computer almost 8 to 10 hours every day. And if I'm working, even if I'm having my office meeting, then there are 10 different browsers open. And there are, of course, social media also in those browsers. And I'm communicating, I'm interacting, and and during the COVID-19 time, lots of social connectivity is through the social network.
Yes.
And I see lots of people not being mindful and not being really aware of how to deal with social media and what to put and what not to put. Okay. So be mindful as to what you want to put out there. Not everything is to be shared. And if you're sharing everything, then it is your thing. Then take
Then it
onus.
is your problem. Yes.
Yeah. Then take onus about that. Okay. I see lots of meme. Oh, that person is sharing everything and that thing. It's their thing. You just keep your eye away. If you're finding it problematic, that's your problem. Okay. So find lots of people being very disgruntled about what people are sharing or not. So you don't bother about others what they like or not, but be sure of what you are liking and how you're interacting with others. Okay, the interaction should never devolve or never get into bullying someone or not getting into debate, long drawn debate, which really drains out your energy. Sometimes, initially I thought that I'll get into those kind of discussion and I'll, somehow school that person about something they didn't understand. And then it just went on, and it was like I'm just draining my energy, and it's
Yes.
not getting. And some same thing I think the other person must be feeling about me. So it was just not that I was right, but maybe the other person. And I just realized that okay, if I have a point of view, I'll put it out there. I'm not going to get into long drawn discussion with people. And also, especially with children, what age are they getting on online? Okay, how much access do they have to those kind of online things? What kind of friends they have? Keeping an eye, not I'm not saying spying, but also being careful about what they are getting into, or looking at their mood swings and so many things. Because I deal with so many students and some of the other every year, I find people who have been impacted due to online bullying, cyberbullying, and things like that. So cyberbullying is terrible, and these days I see people, in the name of religion or in the name of protection of religion or nationalism, they end up bullying others. They have to really
And it
think
can get
twice.
very nasty.
Yeah, it is getting nasty, and every day I think I see there is a war happening. Okay, you have a point of view. I've seen that. You do not need to get into a kind of an all-out war with people or start accusing, abusing, or even in fact, I've been threatened by people being called, names, or wanting to create some kind of problems, and it creates a whole lot of stress. And I think, why do I need to do that? Do I need to go on social media? Do I need to limit my thing? And then I say that the issue is not with me mostly, because I understand it, because this is what I'm teaching my students. I teach online media and navigating online media, and how to put things, how to tell stories on online media. So I'm very mindful of what are the do's and don'ts, and where things crosses the line. So I'm being very mindful of that, but still lots of people do not take care of that. And I feel, uh, adults, but especially with children, we have to be mindful, especially people, children around us. And then there are those kind of issues of phishing. Phishing is someone, recently I saw one of my friends send me, hey Vikrant, see, I've got a friend request from your another profile, and he's asking
Yes.
me money. I'm like, sorry, it's not me. That's another kind of a scam happening. And I had to post it on my wall saying that kindly do not accept friend requests from this profile asking for money. So you have to be mindful. Okay, check your password, change your password, double check what you have said or done. Always make sure, you're not getting into, you're not putting down people, you're not creating people tension to people, even if you think right. Rather, do not engage with people who take it, who are unable to take an advice also.
Yep.
So don't engage these days. Engaging with people, and I've seen lots of times that you want to do it out of concern, or out of goodwill, or out of trying to put your point. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. And you see, there are the examples. You go to Twitter and you just see how
Oh, yes.
the world is a bad
Twitter is
place.
a vicious place.
It's a
Vicious,
vicious
vicious
place,
place.
and every time, and like I've put something, and question, and then suddenly I get abuses of for being bald, for being dark, or things like that, and suddenly you're like, oh, that's the thing. I've heard it after a long time, but then on Twitter you get all kinds of abuses, and it's like, even if you put in the right point of view. So my Twitter engagement has gone really low, because what the hell, you
Yes.
just don't know people. You don't have time and energy. So I'm now being very particular about where I'm engaging, with whom I'm engaging, and what kind of dealings I have online, and what I share also. But I share what I believe in, and if you don't like, just don't watch, or don't interact with me. And I'm not interacting. I'm avoiding so many people who post lots of junk and lots of trash. But is that right? Do that. I'm not going to involve myself. Yeah.
Noreen has just posted something, and I think this is really good information for parents for cyberbullying and cyber abuse. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, that's true. Yeah. In
what
fact,
would you say to parents? Sorry.
in fact, I had to put in a complaint for, when someone had created my fake profile. So I put in a complaint through the Australian cyber complaint cell. So that it's not a police complaint. So they give you a chance that you have a choice. Either you just put in your complaint for the record,
Yep.
and or you can just follow it with the police later on, if it is very vicious or something that you really wanted to take to the police. So I've had one particular instance which I did. I instantly took action on that, and then never wait for that thing to occur. I think anytime you find something, your fake profile or someone bullying you, instantly report those people instantly. Firstly, you can block those person, but secondly, you can report their harmful messages, and then of course those kind of e-safety, uh,
Yes.
internet, those
Commissioners. Yes.
commissions, you can just put a complaint there. Yeah.
So, Vikrant, for many parents, once the children are 12, 13, and then teenagers and a little grown up, you kind of slowly lose control. You don't know what the kids are doing behind the screens. How do you stop that? How do parents keep a control on kids? I mean, I know Facebook says 13. I can tell you my niece, who is who was 12, was on Instagram, and she has got 44 followers. And I'm saying, how is it even possible? I told her not to do it. She didn't listen. So I had to tell her dad, and I felt miserable about it. This is my cousin's daughter living in a small town, and I actually was really upset. Her 7-year-old sister has an Instagram account with 20 followers, and I'm thinking, there's so much of, it's scary. It
Well,
is actually scary. And if parents don't know social media, and many people don't know, um,
many people don't know, and that's a kind of a problem. And initially, like even when we gave the iPad to when my daughter was 3 years old. At the moment, she is 7 years old, but when she was 3 years old, and we would see that after half an hour, she would be onto some other videos within YouTube Kids, and there was some
yes,
stupid kind of vampire thing and all those things she was watching. And then later on, YouTube also admitted that there was some kind of videos which came within the YouTube Kids and all. But then after that, we became a bit wary of iPad, and we stopped giving iPad to our daughter or even phone. And now it's like she's 7 years old, and for last 3 4 years she gets iPad maybe once in a week, that too on weekend for an hour, and that too when we are monitoring it. But we say, okay, you watch TV as much, you watch Netflix, Amazon, go onto the kids thing, watch as many you want. But online, suddenly they are downloading these apps, and all kinds of apps gets downloaded. And one of my 14-year-old nephew, he had like, I saw his Instagram. He had like, you know he was following thousands, and he had around more than 300 400 followers. And I was like, there was one porn star he was following. I was like, what
yeah,
the hell, why are you following this porn star? It's like,
because he's a 14-year-old.
and at 14 years old, and it's like, and he was like, I got caught. I was like, what the hell? We should be getting access to that. But that's the age when you are curious, and I
Yes,
understand that, and that's fine. But yeah, that's another kind of a problem, is that kind of access to. And you see Instagram, the way the model, the moment you just go through that Instagram, what's happening, and according to your choice, you just see so many kind of photographs, especially models trying to model themselves and things like that. And yeah, it's easy for kids to go to all these kind of things, especially anything which is very interest their age, sexual, say, in terms of their sexuality also. So
yes.
those are things, kind of a thing which I asked my sister, and I said, and she was a bit perplexed as to when she should start talking about it. But being the mama, I could still tell him that, listen, wait for some time, and then try to follow these, whoever you want
Porn
to follow.
stars, yes. Well, that's part of growing up, and I
Probably
think
he will
kids
hate
are
me if
growing
he
up
hears
to.
my if he hears my interview. He's going to hate me like anything. But
Oh, my,
anyway,
my cousin's daughter, if she's watching, she's going to hate me for talking about her, but I will not send her this link. But yes, it's actually scary. I mean, older women and men are constantly catfished. You know that. We know that. It's been there for years. Before it used to be. I remember many, many years ago, we must have been in college, and Statesman was one of our big newspapers at those, and there was this old man from States. He talked about this woman who was a pen pal, and then they got into a relationship, all long distance. He was in States, she was in some place in India, I forget. And then they were romantically involved, and he asked her to send a photograph, and she sent a photograph of a Bollywood film actress. And then he was like, I want to marry you. And she was like, I'm too poor, I don't have money. And he sent her like $3,000 4,000, and we were in college, so obviously that's a lot of money. And that woman never came, man
yeah,
or
but
woman. So
there are so many
that's
cases
fishing
like
in
that.
another way, and catfishing in another way. But it has been there for time immemorial, and now
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
it is there, and there are lots of kind of dark side to internet, and that will take another kind of long time to talk about that. And it is something, and then especially when you have kids, you really think about that, and you don't have control on that.
No.
It's not so easy. You want to monitor it, but you do not want to invade their private space and things like that. What is the kind of the best zone? And there are lots of those kind of softwares you can put, child lock and this and that, but you know child are also
They navigate all of that.
yeah, they know how to go around those things. And we were, if you look whatever, in 80s when we were kids, whatever we also ended up doing lots of things which our parents didn't want at that point of time. So it's not that we were very listening to our
Truth ka
parents.
dhulawa.
Yeah, yeah, so of course, so yeah, till the time they are not just getting into something really dark. But yeah, it's yeah, I'm most of the times I'm speechless as to what answer. Probably an internet expert or mental health expert can give a much better thing. I can always give as a kind of a layman or a common person my kind of experiences in this area. But yes, definitely, as you said, it's whatever the Internet Safety Day, and it's good that we have something like that. We need to talk more about it, and most importantly, I see around people that yeah, come out of your bigotedness, come out of your narrow thinking, come out of your thinking which is just through a particular prism or through a particular glass which talks about hating people. Think about people at the basic level. Humanity should be the first and foremost thing. Trust that, treat each other the way you would like to be treated, and
Absolutely.
that should be the thing. you know
Thank you, Vikrant. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for sharing your life, your work, and talking about internet safety, which because most of our viewers are parents, and I don't think we can talk enough about that.
Yeah, thank you, Saleha. It was very interesting, and I didn't know that I'm going to talk about so many things, but it's interesting to have that kind of platform and to chat about things and things that concerns us. Not only about me, it's not about who I am or what I'm doing or I've done something really excellent. No, I'm still, trying to make a place for myself, trying to work out. But what I've learned all these years is that the basic level, as I said, that we have to keep our humanity, our humility and sensibility towards each other, and respect. If we respect each
That's the
other,
big thing,
things,
respect.
yeah, things will get better. And if we want respect for ourselves, we have to start respecting others first and give voice to others, and especially the voice to the voiceless and the marginalized. That should be our
Absolutely.
fate.
Thank you, Vikrant.
Thanks.